The army was not supposed to be visible or to be around any polling unit unless there is a breakdown of law and order and they have been invited by the Inspector General of Police.
That elections are sheltered in Africa is no news. But in Nigeria, it comes with consequences.
Against the will of one man.
Consequences that have toggled the nation's politics and may shape how Nigeria elects.
This is the year of PDP.
The momentum gathers.
When we promise, we deliver.
The fireworks is unending.
We did it and continue to do it.
55 years this year, and in her fourth republic, this is Nigeria's 5th general elections. All the action, all the news, the updates, and the news behind the news we will bring to you live from the field and in the studio on Core TV News as Nigeria elects.
Welcome back. Let me quickly run you through top stories making headline on some of Nigerian newspapers. I have The Nation, The Punch, The Guardian, as well as The Vanguard newspaper. Let's start with The Nation this morning. Fayose Assembly asks CJ to set up probe panel. 19 lawmakers allege gross misconduct. Governor, there was no seating. We want to find out details of that on page 8 of The Nation. It also showcases the Nigerian map there. Of course, let's move away quickly from there and find out some other stories. Support rises for Lagos APC candidate Ambode. APC raises alarm over Mimiko's plot to disrupt polls. Amechi First Lady put INEC, others under pressure. Ajimobi sure of victory as members dump PDP. Jonathan's advisor Douglas dies at 49. Kidnappers demand 30 million naira ransom for Rekoya kids. They find details of that on page 61. Police make special plans for Kwara, Ogun, Oyo, Lagos, others. Let's move away from there and find out what the top stories are on the front page of the Punch newspaper. AKT APC lawmakers to CJ. Race panel to probe Fayose. Police commissioner redeployed. You find details of that on page 2. And then you see also some last-minute electioneering here. Of course, this is Friday. You might not want to show me that part yet. PDP workers begin strike over unpaid salaries. That's on page 14. Jonathan's wife wants INEC to rig polls, says Amechi. Mimiko recalls sacked council workers, waives promotion exams. Okay, you want to find that on page 4. Looks like a last-minute efforts by the Ondo State Governor. Jonathan mourns as Oronto Douglas dies of cancer at 49. INEC accuses Governor of anti-card reader stance. That's on page 3. Nani demands 15 million naira ransom for abducted Lagos children. You'll find details of that on pages 16 and 17. CBN to publish names of chronic bank debtors. That's on page 28. On The Guardian this morning, 5 battleground states at Guba Assembly polls, Imo, Rivers, Benue, Lagos, Kaduna, too close to call. Police demand polythene bags, others at polling booths. That's on page 6. Iran links signing nuclear deal to lifting of sanctions. That's on page 10. ECOWAS common tariff begins tomorrow. That's on page 20 of The Guardian. Of course, the front page picture shows Mr. President signing the condolence register at the residence of a senior special assistant on research and documentation, Oronto Douglas, who passed on in Abuja yesterday. Ijo youths ask Buhari to implement confab report, sustain amnesty program. The writers here, Serap wants anti-corruption war intensified. Rights group charges president-elect on pension funds. That story continues on page 2 of The Guardian. The Vanguard is our last point of call. PDP, APC trade words over plans to rig polls. 24 hours to governorship election. PDP plotting to disrupt polls in Southwest, says APC. APC jittery over imminent defeat. That's the position of the PDP. While INEC says only those with PVCs will vote. Impeachment. Ekiti House asks CJ to set up probe panel. That's on page 10. CBN banks to bar debtors from purchasing forex. And on governorship polls, pitched battles everywhere. You want to find details of that on pages 25, 26, 27, and 52 of the Vanguard this morning. All right, let me quickly introduce to you my guest on the show this morning. I have Samuel OLISA. Of course, today he will be a political affairs analyst. Thank you very much for finding time to join us.
Thank you.
ADEYEMI AROMOLARAN is also here with us, a public as well as a political affairs analyst joining us on the show this morning.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for finding time to come.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure.
All right, we're going to talk about certain states that they now call close to call. But let's begin from Ekiti State with a row there. Of course, the 19 APC lawmakers suddenly resurfaced after General Muhammadu Buhari was elected president. How would you describe the situation in Ekiti, especially as we count down to the State House of Assembly election?
It's Ekiti, like we'll be reading in the papers and having feel as those that were there after the announcement of the result of the presidential election that gave the 19 lawmakers the impetus to want to return back to the state. And it's been tough for the governor and doing all sorts of things to prevent them from sitting. At a time, they were having a picnic. The PDP were having picnic on the street that leads to the State Assembly. They blocked it. At another time, the 19 lawmakers were returned, were sent back out of the state before they could enter the state. You'll be hearing all those stories. But the bottom line is this. One would have expected in the spirit in which the city president considered defeat and congratulated the president-elect, which is a landmark in the political history of Nigeria. One would have expected the governor to know that it's time up. He too should have taken a cue. Just like Amechi did in Rivers. He should have taken a cue by making a state broadcast, apologizing for whatever he might have done, because of course 7 is not greater than 19. The primary one people knows that. In a situation where you have been protecting only 7 lawmakers and you show a speaker, it's absurd. So one would have expected that he would have apologized and called for peace. But instead of that, all these tactics, I call them delay tactics, and the tension is high. And I think that will not be good for the state.
We have a situation now where there's different groups are beginning to take sides. Yesterday we reported that some student unions are on the side of the 19 lawmakers. We have some protesters on the side of Fayoshe. People seem to have started dying already for that cause. What do you expect? What do you see as the next line of action to, avoid violence, especially as we count down to an election?
Yeah, thank you very much. You see, what happened is, if you look at the development of events since the outcome of the presidential poll, it's Ekiti scenario is just one of the several changes that have taken place in Nigeria. Every Nigerian has come back to our senses of right thinking, and you see the 19 lawmakers being able to return back to Ekiti. It's just because the event of things in Nigeria is taking shape. Ordinarily, they had attempted returning several times without the support of the police. But with the turnout of a political event, we can see that, okay, they have been given a level of protection which assures them of a level of security and why they are able to return to Ekiti. And the goings in the Ekiti, nobody can actually say this is the way things will turn out. Because ordinarily, if we have to say, oh, the way Fayoshe, the governor there, has been behaving over the past few months, then we wouldn't even expect to have much of the votes which PDP had in the presidential election. So let's give it to it now that the situation in Ekiti at the moment is will be determined by the outcome of this Saturday election. And you see, I want to correct an impression that in the past in Nigeria, it is the minority that have always been dictating to the majority. So in the past, 7 used to be greater than 19 in Nigeria in the political terrain. But with the last election, we have seen a situation where the majority have actually come out to dictate the pace of political scenes. So that is what is now giving us the assurance that, oh, with the turn of events, it's like the usual 7 being greater than 19 may not be the order of the day. But we cannot say yet until this after Saturday election when we'll be able to be sure. You see, because Nigerians, we are just coming up. We don't have objectivity yet in Nigeria. We cannot say, oh, we are sure of a people. Look at Ekiti, is a state of well-read people, where we expect that they will be very objective in their decisions, where everybody is developing headache for what is going on happening in Ekiti. But the Ekiti people are not actually having the headache on their own, because we felt if they have a headache, the last election where the governor's party prevailed shouldn't have arisen. So we should not be too quick to jump into conclusion before this election. Let us wait. This election will tell us how the direction of the event where it will swing to.
Olisa, in your own opinion, what impact do you see this Saturday's election having on the situation of things in Ekiti? Because many will tell you that whatever way it goes, the 19 lawmakers still have probably 2 months in their hands.
Thank you very much. In my own opinion, I don't think Saturday election will stop the 19 lawmakers from performing their constitutional right. Because the Saturday election will bring about new set of lawmakers whose term will not begin until after May 29. And May 29 is still a long way to go after Saturday election. I think there are 2 options. Option A is for Fayose to institute peace move, apologize. Because 7 cannot be greater than 19. It can never, in universal arithmetic. Even in old ancient arithmetic, 7 can never be greater. How do you organize 7 people to impeach a popular speaker? And you now protected the 7 people, you chose a speaker from them. You know, this is a rape of democracy. So, excuse me, sir. Give me time. Let me wait. We take it turn by turn. Now, I don't think the Saturday election will have impact, because these people still have their own, the life of this present assembly is terminate after May 29. So definitely they are on course, whether you like it or not. So that is the way I look at it. The only thing is that when 2 elephants fight, is the grass that suffers. Is Ekiti, like he said, Ekiti people are well read. We would have expected this type of thing to be happening in Ekiti. But when the truth, what is called the truth, when you don't stand on the truth, there must be a problem. I think Fayose, because PDP was the ruling party, when he came in, he used that opportunity to bulldoze his way, to use the police to protect the 7. But now the pendulum has changed. And the earlier he knows, the better. After all, the city president congratulated the president-elect. Don't forget OLISA Mantu, the secretary of PDP, made a statement that he now called the president-elect to call the APC lawmakers to order. The president-elect is not yet sworn in. What he should have done was for them to call Fayose in PDP. Look, the pendulum has changed. If the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria wanted peace, you are only one state. You must want peace. But he's behaving as if he didn't know that the pendulum has changed. It is very unfortunate.
You wanted to chip something?
Yes, I want to call our attention to what happened in Nasarawa State, where the majority couldn't have their way. You see, the involvement, the constitutional role of the panel that will be constituted by the Chief Justice of the state is very, very important. You see, that was where the Nasarawa attempt to impeachment of the governor was thwarted. So we do not know, nobody can categorically say this is where the chief judge actually belongs or tilts towards. He is the one that can actually determine there, and that was what happened in Nasarawa State. The chief judge frustrated the efforts.
But at this juncture, it's too early to preempt.
No, you see, no, what I'm saying is, no, get what I'm trying to say is that it is too early for us to jump into conclusion. You say, let's get it. Fayose committed so many impunities that ordinarily a right-thinking person will know that this governor has gone out of control. That we are craving for justice, we are craving for orderliness. But you see, the change we are expecting is not a sudden change; is a gradual process. It's not what will just happen once. Even if Buhari takes over today, the change is still going to be a gradual thing. And politics is just a matter of weeks. The time the new president will be sworn in and the time when the new assembly member will be sworn in is just a matter of 1 week difference. So the matter of their political weights can come in, and the order of the whole practice can still sustain this man we are talking about.
If you look at what is happening in Ekiti now, all what Fayose and his supporters are doing is to prevent the 19 from sitting.
Yes.
For how long can they sustain this? They can sit at 12 midnight. This is Nigeria. That is, I mean, the fact of the matter is the truth. The truth and the fact of the matter is that 7 can never be greater than 19. You cannot use 7 people to unilaterally remove a speaker. It is not possible. And the truth will always prevail at the end of the day. No, see, we are living those. I'm happy you said it. That in the past, 7 could be greater than 19, but we're in a new dispensation. That new dispensation is what Fayose has not come to terms with.
Well, let's now consider.
That's what I'm saying.
Let us consider the procedural attempt being made now to bring justice to fore in that light. For instance, you recall that the 19 APC lawmakers were supposed to meet to sit, as regards this impeachment of, I think, yesterday or the day before, and they were not allowed to enter into the State House of Assembly complex. They met in Osun, instead. Of course, the latest report now is that they actually met at a particular school. They call it Mary Hill Royce High School in Ado Ekiti, where they directed the Ekiti State Chief
they claimed
Judge
to meet, to have met.
Exactly.
They claimed to
I'm
have
getting
not...
there. Where they directed the Ekiti State Chief Judge to constitute a 7-man investigation panel to look into the allegations leveled against the governor. They actually gave him 7 days to do that. Now, in a swift reaction to that, MCR, I want you to quickly let me get that clear. The principal of that school, Mary Hill Boys High School, Bolanle Fashao, came out to deny any sitting in the school premises. She argues that no sitting took place, as a matter of fact that the students in that school were sitting for examination. Let's find out what she said.
There is English language work, and almost all my teachers were in school, because today we distributed report sheet to students because of the prompt holiday due to this election period. So we are all in school, the students were all there, the teachers were all there, my VPs were there, the registrar was there, and I was there. And after the first paper, there was a recess. The student had recess, and then they had to go in for the afternoon paper. And I want to say here that we have just one hall in that school, and the hall is being utilized by the SS3 students. So I don't know where they held the meeting. I'm not aware of it.
This principal,
the question now is,
this principal is protecting a job.
Quite right.
Period. The question we're asking is, for how long will this impunity continue? Should 19 lawmakers be prevented from sitting? If it were the other way around, then we will not say the majority. Democracy is where the majority prevails.
Do you recall?
You will hear the voice of the minority.
Do you recall that this same 19 lawmakers were suspended by the 7, and they had gone to court? The position of the Ekiti state government is that once you have gone to court on the matter, the status quo should remain. How do you react to that?
No, I'm not a lawyer. And I won't be here to take those procedures, whether they've gone to court or not. But what I know is that 7 can never, ever greater than 19. Whether we like it now or later, the truth will prevail.
I understand.
Yes, that's the position.
Let me come back.
Very
Mr. Olisa is looking at the theoretical approach to events, general politically.
Or the moral justice.
We are looking at Nigeria political system. Nigeria political system where 7 can be greater, where minority can dictate to the majority.
No,
I cited the case of Nasarawa State, where the majority in the House, they perfected the process of impeachment and communicated it to the CJ, which is the dictates of the Constitution. And the CJ, because of his belief and tiltment towards the governor's side, constituted the panel that absolved the governor of all the charges. And consequently, it was the people that actually determined. So will the situation repeat itself in Ekiti?
The Chief Judge, as it is now,
what we're saying
is in Fayoshe's camp.
Nasarawa's situation is different from Ekiti situation.
No, my brother, it's not.
It's different because of the body language. You see, you said it here.
What body language?
Wait, because you said it here that things have changed in the new dispensation. That is the type of impunity we'll be talking about, and that is part of the corruption we'll be talking about, where 7 will be greater, minority will prevail against majority.
No, my we are not denying all these things we are saying. We are talking of the political play. What is going to be the body language, the personal interest of the Chief Justice?
You see,
who is going to constitute the members, the composition of the members of the panel?
Even if this attempt
who are they going to be?
If this attempt fails, I can assure you that will not be the end of the matter.
No, we are not saying it's going to be. You are getting to terms with me. The composition of the panel is going to be very important.
Even if this present attempt fails for technical reasons, that will not be the end of the issue.
But once it fails, and the new legislator comes in, and they are unfortunate that they are PDP members, that's the end. So that is the role where the role of Ekiti people comes in.
I don't want us to sit here and be preempting the election that is there.
No, we are analyzing the events. We are not preempting.
If Fayoshe continues like this, impunity, that cannot save us.
No, you say if Fayoshe continues, Ekiti people will suffer for it.
Of course.
Good.
Of course.
So the Ekiti people should come out on Saturday to determine their future.
When there's free and fair election, they will determine it. Let me tell you that. There's no problem about that. But what I'm saying is that presently, should we allow this thing to go like that in Nigeria?
No, my brother, you are getting. We are not saying it is right. We are saying the way we play our politics in Nigeria.
Still have up to May 29. And if you say we are changing nationally, if the president-elect have made history, Fayoshe should take a toll.
My brother, you see, everything now is in the purview of the CJ. Will they constitute the panel genuinely?
Whether the CJ or whatever, but if it decides to continue like this, time will tell.
There are 2 parts to it. First is if the 19 APC lawmakers actually sat. Because if the principal of that school is saying that the school
there was no meeting of such,
held, then the credibility of that meeting might also be questioned. But the other part also will now be the stance of the CJ, given the political appointment of that office and, the political alignment that we have seen in the past political history of Nigeria. How do you foresee
this? Who appointed the CJ in the first instance? Yes.
You see, my brother?
Who appointed the CJ?
Is no who appoints the CJ that matters at this moment. What has been the political interest?
There are 2 things that matters this moment. Is the issue of who appoints the CJ is very key. Then 2, the issue of whether the CJ will have his own independent mind is another issue. Whether you want to be on the good side,
just like the principal you cited.
Whether you want to be on the good side of it is another issue.
Or this good side of the governor.
They are not computers. They are human beings.
Good.
But at the end of the day, what we are saying is that in the spirit of national unity, which the sitting President Goodluck Jonathan demonstrated. Because if the man says, I'm disputing the election, the whole country will be in crisis. But that spirit, that, oh, it's not worth the blood of any man. And what would have expected Fayose sympathy to apologize?
No, Mr. Lisa, let me
to come together.
Let me bring you up to this. Let me bring you up to this. President Jonathan accepted defeat, just like Governor Fayemi accepted defeat. But APC, barely hours after, were not.
That's a different issue.
No, we are still on the same thing. What I'm trying to say is the PDP too, not happy, not accepting the defeat just like that.
The issue I'm talking about
so where I'm saying
is that spirit of peace, Fayose should look back.
I agree with you. We expect Governor Fayose to look at it from that perspective.
The airs to quench this matter is with him. The airs to continue. Are we sure that even if tomorrow the majority of those that are going to be elected into the state assembly will be PDP, how are we sure that Fayose will not still fight them?
You see, my brother, let's get it. You see, the
sure?
end result of
the same party. Parties they have conflict. How are we sure? If it continues like this,
we are sure we can preempt who Governor Fayose is. You see what
I don't think we can preempt. No, because
he has his character.
Looking at the first term, the time he came, he had majority state assembly.
Yes.
He still has problem.
Exactly. Well, that's why we say we can preempt who he is. We know who he is by character.
He realizes that life, that we don't run politics as if you are a battlefront, the better.
That is his own nature, his lifestyle. We all know that.
I mean, in a new dispensation, some people should be done away with.
You see, everything. Let us leave it to these two people: the CJ and the Ekiti people. The way it happened in Nasarawa State when the National Assembly, the State Assembly wanted to impeach the governor, but the CJ thwarted the effort. So the same thing can repeat itself in Ekiti. And it is the people also can determine what will happen thereafter.
Beyond that, in my submission.
No, we are doing the analysis of the events.
I'm looking beyond that.
We are expecting that beyond that people should have
other issues. So I will not waste the whole of today or Fayose.
That's all right. Let's move away from Ekiti now and probably start with Lagos. There are about 5 states here where analysts are of the opinion are quite close to call: Imo, Rivers, Benue, Lagos, and Kaduna. For Lagos, that appears to be the national headquarters for the opposition party, the All Progressives Congress. But just before we get there, let's quickly open the phone line. I understand that people would want to make some contribution as regards the Ekiti issue. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Lagos. I'm Dennis.
I didn't get your name.
Dennis.
Dennis, turn down the volume of your TV set and go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah, please, I want to know the discussions of the
Dennis, I'm afraid you have to call back. When you call in, please turn down the volume of your TV set so we can have a crystal clear communication going on. Let's start with Lagos, for instance. Quite amazing election result we saw for the presidential election. It's less than 24 hours to another one. But how would you describe the pattern that you foresee Lagosians voting this time? Let me start with you.
Yes, the pattern may not be too different from what we had a fortnight ago when we had the presidential election. Although there are jitters everywhere from the two parties, and that is expected politically because you cannot preempt people all the time. So we know it's going to be a keen contest. Also, the unfortunate developments in the last few days from the Royal Palace of the above Lagos to a section of the electorate. We can see that the situation calls for jittery on the part of the APC. That unfortunate development has put the party. But I will still go ahead to give it to APC regardless of that.
Let me quickly take this call. Hello, good morning.
Yeah. I want to contribute to the program.
What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Chus. I'm calling from Lagos.
Chooks from Lagos. Please go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah. I see the issue of Fayose is that I had OLISA Meto calling on the president-elect to call Fayose, to call the APC lawmakers to order. But this same Olisameto never asked the president to call for a to order when he was doing these people with 7 lawmakers. You see, this impunity is not good. We must stop all these things. Why are they saying they should call Buhari to call these people to order? Why President Jonathan did not call Fayose to order when he was having all this impunity to all these lawmakers? He pushed them away. He did a lot of things. Nobody said anything. But now that the situation, the heat has turned on them, they are calling on the president-elect. All these things are rubbish. Fayose has to go. If they want to let him, if they want to push him out, let him go. That is the situation. That's my position. Thank you.
Thank you for your contribution, Chicks from Lagos. Don't forget, when you're calling in, please turn down the volume of your TV set so that we can have a crystal clear communication. You were talking about Lagos.
So as I was saying, I've made my own submission. It's going to be a keen contest, but whichever way it goes, I think I still see APC coming out ahead of PDP.
It's all right. Just before I get to you, sir. Hello, good morning. Yeah, please, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Yeah, it's Ibrahim from Ogba.
Ibrahim from Ogba.
Ibrahim from Ogba.
All right, please go ahead with the contribution.
Yeah. I don't want to happening in
Can you speak louder?
You know, absolute power corrupts absolutely. That is all the issue. And when the other president was on ground, Fayose was using that power. Absolutely. Without regard to fundamental law of the land. He was very intelligent. He would have allowed the rule of law to take place. Now that the power has now moved to the other side, I think the best thing or the best solution is for the president, the incumbent president, and the president-elect to put heads together and see how a solution can be put to this matter. But the fundamental issue is that the rule of law must take place. So that it will serve as a deterrent to other people who may be behaving the same way Fayose is behaving. But I don't way 7 can be greater than 19. That's my contribution.
Thank you very much for your contribution, Ibrahim from Ogba and Lagos. Of course, I know we left Ekiti, but I'm just beginning to, recall a number of newspaper advertorial released on behalf of the Ekiti State Governor. Many would have asked what his personal interest was in having the federal government stay with the PDP, unlike many other PDP governors that did not really become quite politically active ahead the presidential poll, so to speak. But let's take this call. Hello, good morning. Good morning, what's your name?
Yeah, my name is Israel, calling from Lekki.
Good to have you on the show today, Israel. Please go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah, Israel, and you tell me.
Yes, I'm with you, sir.
Yeah, when Ekiti Saga started, I remember calling him to tell him that time will tell. And today, time is telling. The other day, I called him to say that when we do things in this life, we forget tomorrow. Now, tomorrow for financial has come. And I tell you, he has no hiding place. Financial is going. It's a pity he didn't learn from his past mistakes during the Obasanjo's regime. Now, he felt Jonathan was all over him. But the table had changed. He has no hiding place. Such men with high level of impunity are not allowed anywhere in Nigeria again. After May 29th, all this nonsense will stop. Because our president, the people's president, will be attending the throne. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your contribution, Israel from Lekki. Just before you talk about Lagos, if, and please note if, the Ekiti State government get impeached, that will be the second time. Do you see that happening? It will be quite historic, OLISA.
I don't want to preempt it. The events have started. Because by the time we begin to say it here now, people will think that we are anti-Fayose or anti-PDP. But what I know is that the rule of law will take its course. As far as that is concerned.
And you have faith in that rule
yes,
of law?
I know. If you want to move forward in Nigeria, the era of impunity is gone.
But what do you think would change, or that has changed in the rule of law? Because this idea of 7 greater than 19 has been around for over some months.
No. It was in that regime. Don't forget, it started with the Governors Forum election, where 16 was greater than 19. That impunity. And that is what gave Fayose the temerity to move ahead and do the same thing. But that will go. It's going and it will be gone for Nigeria to move forward. The rule of law, even in your house, in my house, must prevail. If you are a father in the house and you bring food to the table and you want to eat, you want to satisfy yourself at the expense of your children will revolt against you. That's the rule of law. Because you are still in the position to bring food to the table. So you must not cheat them. So that era is gone. With the result of the last election and with the sitting president, in fact, I see him as a hero, conceded defeat and congratulating the president-elect. People like Fayose are so many around him. He kept their mouth quiet. And Fayose, you better realize that it is still living in the past. The rule of law must take its course. They're coming to Lagos State. I agree with my colleague in submission. But there are certain things I want to see. You see, the issue of ethnic politics was whipped up by the PDP all towards the presidential election. During the time they postponed the election for 6 weeks. Because if you look at the 2011 election, the Southwest or bloc, apart from Osun State, gave our votes to Jonathan. For the 4 years, first of all, number 1 to 13 is regime. Nobody from Southwest was enjoying it. He wanted to honor MK Abiola in the University of Lagos. The norm is that you take an institution from outside the geopolitical zone of that person with impunity in the University of Lagos, which was rejected. On like that. During the 6 weeks, they look at what can we do to secure Lagos. Okay, let's whip up ethnic chauvinism. That's what started it. It's unfortunate that Akilolu exploded openly. It's very unfortunate. They started it, the PDP started it. But now they wanted to use it. But I'm happy in the last 4 or 5 days, APC has stepped up the campaign. Even the president-elect came to Lagos. The leader of APC assured all non-Lagosians that we're all equal. Of course, we are equal. And let me tell you one of the attributes of the Yorubas. If anybody doubts me, he should challenge me. If 2 people are fighting in the street of Lagos, the Yorubas will ask what happened. They will state their case. And if the person is a stranger, and it's the Yoruba that is guilty, Yoruba will fight the Yoruba. Is it because he's a stranger? You can't do that to him. We have always upheld that principle. And that principle is continuing. So nobody, all Igbos, we are brothers and sisters. They should not look at what happened or the explosion of the Oba. That is his own way of doing things. It's not as if it meant bad. So the Yoruba has always been there. This Lagos is a state, is the only state where an Igbo man can win an election. It happened in the last presidential election. So nobody should look at that. Having said it, Lagos cannot, I repeat, cannot afford to be in the opposition after about over 16 years. The last federal project in Lagos was the completion of Third Mainland Bridge during Raji Razaki regime. After that, Lagos has been abandoned.
It's all right.
This time around, we are at the center. So we cannot afford to be in opposition.
We have to also bear in mind that 24 hours to the election, we're not permitted to do any electioneering. So we have to get our
You should have told me that earlier. I'm sorry for that. I apologize. I don't want to be arrested.
Well, we wouldn't see that one as campaign. We wouldn't see it as campaign.
We have to get our contribution as neutral
today's
as
paper
possible.
these 24 hours. Today's paper, have analyzed it, giving some space to APC, some
we'll
to
get
PDP.
there. But let's also begin to look at the good side of this would be that if an election will hold tomorrow and then no political party can boldly come out to say that we are going to win this, probably is good news for electorate who would now believe more than ever that the power to choose leadership really lies in their hands.
In the people. Yeah, you see, it's a good development, just like we've been saying. I still believe that Nigerians, we are just getting matured. One thing that still predominates our sense of our perception is sentiment. Just like Mr. Olisa said, when we put aside sentiments and we're able to come out objectively, devoid of religious bias, ethnic bias or tribal bias, and we're able to come out and assess individual candidates on the basis of their historical or antecedent performance and what have we, then we'll be able to say, look, this person will emerge. But because our sense of judgment and assessment have been beclouded by sentiment, that is why the electorate largely are not, we cannot say this is where this thing will tilt towards. And if we look at it, we should be able to say, oh, this is the party that will win in Lagos, and this is the party. But because of the predominance of sentiment over our judgment, that is why we have issues here and there in Lagos, in Rivers, in Imo, and in some other places. Because everything, if you look at it, why do we have this confusion? We all know sincerely that it is because of the predominance of sentiment in the assessment of the candidates on ground in the respective states. So the development that is emerging from this 2015 election is bringing us to our sense of judgment that, oh, we can now say as a people we are now awakening to the realization of events. Then people can now start saying, look, let us assess these people, let us assess them objectively, let us show their sentiments, whatever exactly. So with the election that is coming up holding tomorrow in Lagos, I think the coast is clear for a party, but the only thing is because of developments in the past few days, they know, oh, they have developed some issues that they need to redress. And thank God, like he said, they have been handling it in the past 3-4 days. And things are getting back to normal. There is beginning to be alignment again from the different groups. So let us just say, don't let us be too forward to say, oh, this is the party that is running.
Let's also begin to look at your expectation for INEC, especially in the Saturday's election. In places like Rivers and Imo State, there were certain complaints from some parties where they complained about irregularities in the conduct of the election. The Rivers State governor actually did not vote during the March 20th presidential election, alleging, reasons, result sheets, and the like. One would have thought that with the introduction of card readers, INEC promised that elections wouldn't be compromised. As a matter of fact, the INEC chairman even sent a 3-man panel to oversee and check out the allegations. They came back with some sort of a good report.
I give kudos to INEC in view of the tension that INEC was well focused. At a time very close to the election day, there was a temptation of saying, oh, we'll discontinue with the card reader. But they held on to it, and they had alternative, the card reader didn't work. And I think after March 28th, I watched some INEC programs. They said the reason why the card readers didn't work was that the SIM card or the network provider for a section of the cards were not activated. So they said they've done that. Secondly, on the fingerprint, they said the nylon foil. Some people, when they buy remote control for 10 years, they will still keep the nylon.
Just like handsets.
Like handsets, they still keep it. So the nylon foil on the device, the device where you put the finger, prevented. So they've discovered that. So I'm expecting INEC technically to perform well tomorrow. But the other side of it is the human side of it, where we have the issues with some resident electoral commissioners, like that of River State. I think there was protest. They even called that she should be changed. But I think Jega knows best. If he had conducted the presidential election and will come out successfully, I think we will also supervise gubernatorial election that will be successful. But I take a special interest in Edo State. The resident electoral commissioner in Guinea said it openly that there are some that he distributed all the result sheets, he distributed all materials. Therefore, he cancelled the result of 2 local governments. He said no reason why the result sheet was not used. So he cancelled the result. That is a decisive action. Any resident electoral commissioner tomorrow that says INEC did not supply result sheet is a liar. Because Professor Jega has proved to this nation and to the rest of the world that he's a man of integrity. And to that extent, we believe in this INEC.
But what's the issue with the result sheet, really? I mean, why wouldn't be a result sheet at the polling unit at the start of an election process?
You see, what happened was that you remember that Governor Michi used to be part of them in PDP, and he revealed the secret that they usually manipulate the election voting system there through the result sheets. So which actually spurred him to request for the result sheets at the polling booth where he was supposed to vote, and the inability of the INEC officials at the polling booth to provide result sheets made him to feel, oh, the whole game plan is what they already have, and he instructed his men at the various polling sheets request for the result sheets. We knew very well everything that happened. The INEC electoral resident officer commissioner, the returning officer, they were both embarrassment. The returning officer did his own very open that, I mean, both locally and internationally, his personality will be questionable up to this moment. You see, all those things will come to play after the whole electioneering processes. If a professor will stand and every illumination available at that moment, he could not still read the results he wrote by himself, it meant a lot. So, you see, the issue of the result sheets, we know that Professor Jega has really performed. He has surprised Nigerians and the international community that in Nigeria we have the able hands that can handle issues. But individuals, which is what I'm trying to stretch out to Mr. OLISA, individuals, we have our role to play in every of events. Individuals, we have our role to play, just like I cited in Ekiti. The CJ is a determining factor. You and I that are citizens of Ekiti State, we are factor. The way it plays out in Nasarawa. So in this electioneering process, yes, Professor Jega has deployed his men. We have the resident commissioner, we have the returning officers, we have the various officials at the polling booths. Their role individually cumulates to determine the success of the outcomes of the process. So we can't rule out their individual contribution. So if they go out to perform, then we will still expect, because I will expect this governorship election to be more volatile than the presidential, because this is grassrooted than the presidential. You will see that sentiments in states where this election is holding, it's a do or die affair, just like the case of Ekiti. You expect if Governor Farashi can commit suicide, he will be ready to commit suicide tomorrow over this election. But like I said, it is the people of Ekiti that will really tell you and I what they want in their state. We cannot continue to develop headache over Ekiti when the people of Ekiti themselves, they are not feeling any headache. Because when you hear comment from some of the indigenes of Ekiti, you will shake your head. That is this what? When you are saying this is impunity, they will be telling you, no, those people started it, so it must continue.
But then what's this thing about ensuring that you vote so that your state can be in alignment with the party at the center? Shouldn't the president-elect be a president to all Nigerians, to all states, irrespective of their political affiliation?
Well, yeah, you're right. But then, if you look back to history, during the time of NPA, UPA, look back at the history. Is project execution not done in line with parties? You see, this mistrust is always there. That's why for the APC states that produce the president, they want to gain
No.
the dividends of that to remain, so that the state will also remain in the same party. It has always been there. Even this last regime, this PDP, why has Lagos been abandoned for over 16 years? All federal roads abandoned. The one that are patched, they were just awarded, they are done through FEMA. And before the next registry, everything has staved in. So that is always there. Because a party will claim to have performed. And the only way they can do that is when your own party is ruling that state. There will be trust. But then, it shouldn't be so. But here is Nigeria. Maybe we'll get over it in the next 20 years. Maybe. But as at today, that is the trend. Then, on the issue of tomorrow's election, just like I said before the presidential election, that there will be no problem. People will go out there. People, you see, the basis of power is the people. Power flows from the people. People will go out there, they will stay out there, they will count the votes in their places. So there will be no problem. If you want, anybody that want to bring in problem will be singled out. It's like the case of the professor. When he came, read the result. He used the telephone light. He said it's not enough. They brought a 5,000 watts halogen light that even illuminated the whole place, including him. He couldn't read. There's something, he will be on one side of the history. It depends on the side of the history you want to be. But generally, this success in presidential election will be carried into tomorrow's election.
What do you expect from the police, being the basic security agencies for this election?
You see, I made a reference to a number of changes that have started commencing the outcome of the last election. The position of the president, Dr. Goodluck Ebele, by accepting defeat, which was the beginning of the changes, transcends to various organs of the government. Look at what is happening in Ekiti. It was because of the outcome of the last election that the 19 lawmakers could return. And just yesterday, the Commissioner of Police in Ekiti was redeployed. It is the outcome of the changes that has commenced. So you see, every law enforcement agency, their chief executives wants to reposition themselves, they want to be seen to be objective now because of the imminent changes that is coming up very soon. They want to be seen as being working in the proper perspective. So we expect police now to be more modest, to be more orderly, to be more objective in their assessment of situations, because they have witnessed what we never witnessed in the history of Nigeria, that anything can be.
And you expect them to follow suit.
Exactly.
But
so at the various state levels.
Do you expect that Nigerians now have more confidence in the security operatives, given the position of Mr. President after the presidential election?
Well, before the presidential election, people were doubting the sincerity of the police or the security agents. The fight that Nigeria won was that the soldiers will not be involved at the polling booths. Bringing gun, soldiers, their orientation is quite different from the place. But see what happened during the presidential election. The police too have carved a niche, a new image for that organization. I remember I usually vote in my village in Ondo State. I stopped over in Akure, to one of the big police stations. My sister works there, just to see her. At that time, the police chief there was briefing the policemen. I was impressed. In fact, after the briefing, I went to congratulate him. He just told all of them, you are sent to polling booths to be neutral. You are not to side anybody. The IG has provided the fund and he distributed the cash himself to them. Then he warned them that if you go there and you collect money for anybody and you misbehave, you are on your own. I mean, that message alone. And I think the same thing must have happened in all the police formations. So that's why we were able. So they were friendly. And the one in my polling booth was very friendly. As a matter of fact, he just sat down throughout. when an issue came up, one woman wanted to vote. He's in a different party from his son. He couldn't read and write. Then they said, the son said he will lead her. No, 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 no. The woman said, no, I don't want you because I know what I want to do.
You mislead me.
You see, Nigerians have come a long way. This mother and son. Then the boy was annoyed. He said he would tear the ballot paper. I called him. I said, if you do that, you're going to jail. Your mother don't trust you on this issue. The mother said, when we get home, we'll begin our relationship again. The police was just here laughing.
I see.
Because it will, we electronics elders that intervene. So, and I think tomorrow's election is going to be very peaceful. People should go out, exercise your civic right. It is now you can change whatever you want change to be. So nobody should be afraid. With the experience of the presidential election, which was much more volatile, has shown that tomorrow's election will succeed. And I wish every Nigerian coming out tomorrow, I wish them well.
Now let's look at the responsibility or perhaps the expectation of the state houses of assembly. Prior to this time, it's been a bandwagon effect where the party that wins the governorship election sweeps the House of Assembly, and then it reflects on the quality of governance because the members of the House of Assembly just get to stamp every proposal that comes from the executive. How do you see it work out this time around? Is it a continuation of what we've had before, or you foresee a change?
You see, that means we are talking of in terms of performance that we're expecting from the state assemblies. You see, what happened is the parties have noticed that the electorates have developed change of attitudes towards their choice of candidates, and as a result of that, you will begin to experience performance from the parties in government. And if that comes to be, then you will see that the state assembly members will begin to coordinate their party in proper perspective, trying to caution their governor, realizing that the activities of the governor will fall down on them, and the electorate may decide against them when the time comes. So we are looking forward to have a kind of government at the various states that will give performance now. And I can only say that maybe this is sure in the Southwest. I can only speak for the Southwest because if we look at the outcome of the last election in the Southwest, you will see that it's a very 55-45 somehow.
Quite close.
Unlike some places where you see 93-7%. So that is why you will see that the contest was keen in the Southwest, where we now measure candidates based on performance, and where we're able to say this is what this person has done, where we had little of sentiments. We still have sentiment, but little of sentiment in the Southwest. We're able to point, look at this is what this person has said, this, that, this. But in so many other states, we should not forget the fact that, look, it was still based majorly on sentiment. In the northern parts, they were returning votes 90%. Against exactly in the south exactly. Oh, that's what I'm saying. Likewise in the south.
Even when he lost in the last 3 elections, he was polling almost even over 12 million votes. He was a loser.
So even in the southeast, south, he reported the same thing: 93%, 97% from his states. So it was the personality they just voted, not in terms of performance. So we can absorb the southwest of this, and if other regions...
Do you see that happening also at the House of Assembly level?
Yes, I see it. Because at the Federal House of Representatives in Lagos, it happens. We have candidates from other parties sweeping a particular area. We are against the...
some of the opinion that the House of Reps came alive when there seemed to be an increase in the number of opposition in this Fourth Republic. You recall that... the APC, after joining together, just as if it's parked off the legislative responsibility of the House. Do you foresee that if this bandwagon continues, where the same party that wins the governorship election sweeps the House of Assembly, do you foresee that passive, attitude continue at the state legislative level?
Well, in politics, there is always permanent interest, but not permanent friend. The last regime, we saw it, first of all, when we look at the National Assembly, for a long time, they just passing until people began to decamp. And APC now have majority, perceived majority. Even the speaker
in the House of Rep.
The House of Rep. But the president of the Senate did not allow that to happen.
Senate was docile, quiet.
So you could see that when we have a lot of majority in the opposition, then the National Assembly, particularly the House of Rep, became lively. You know, in their motion, in bringing up motions, counteracting executive actions,
right.
and so far and so on. Then if you take turn, we're yet to get there in Nigeria. What really happened in this present regime that is going on, it was the campaign. But if you look at the United States of America, the American electorate are so wise. I'm not saying they are more educated than Nigerian electorate, but they are wise. They've been doing that for a long time. Maybe they were born into it, this generation. And midterm elections, if the Democrat is in charge of the executive, they will ensure that they vote for more Republicans for checks and balances. One is expecting Nigerian electorate to come up, to evolve, but we are not yet there. We are not yet there. So I'm not expecting a different scenario in tomorrow's election when it comes to state assembly members. I'm expecting tomorrow's election to follow suit of the presidential election, where most of the North, all the assembly members will also be APC. I'm not expecting it. As a matter of fact, there will be a bandwagon effect. So in tomorrow's election. But we need to evolve over time. If we allow, and we thank God, I think the action of the President Jonathan has now come to stabilize democracy. If we allow democracy to continue to evolve, Nigerian electorate will get there. Where in every state, when you vote for an APC governor, you now consciously vote for more PDP state assembly for checks and balances. I think we will get there. We are not there yet.
We have to wrap up the show now. What do you expect from the average electorate yesterday as they go out to vote?
Yes, I expect them to be, one, to come out en masse, to be very objective in their assessment of the candidates based on their antecedents of performances, and Nigerians to accept the outcome of the elections at the various states. Whatever side it falls into, we should accept it so that our democracy can move on and we can be appreciated by the international community, because to a larger extent the outcome of the last election has given us a better rating in the world. So that is my wish for Nigeria.
Just a minute.
Yeah, in tomorrow's election, I'm expecting the electorates to come out en masse. I'm projecting that Lagos, we are going to have more voters tomorrow than the presidential election, where I had only 1.7 million. I'm expecting over 2 million, close to 3 million voters. Because in Lagos, it's very, the campaign has been very, very active. In states where there will be no gubernatorial election, I'm expecting less voters to come out. The states like Undo, Osun, Edo, Kogi.
What happened in Kogi and Bayelsa?
So I'm expecting, because there will be no gubernatorial election tomorrow, I'm expecting less, voters to come out. Because if you know the nitty-gritty of these things, it involves money.
That's right.
So when there will be no gubernatorial election, but in a place like Ekiti, I'm expecting more voters because of the current issue going on there. So for all states, particularly Lagos State, where I reside, feel free, go out, there will be no problem. The last election has shown us that there will be no problem. As a matter of fact, go out and cast your vote, and stand there and let your vote count. So and by Sunday, early morning on Sunday, the result will be.
Then we'll get away it goes.
Yes.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for finding time to join us on the show today. I've been speaking with Samuel OLISA. He's an economist that doubles as a political affairs analyst on the show today, as well as ADEYEMI AROMOLARAN. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for finding time to join us today. Okay, elections for the gubernatorial polls are expected to hold in Abuja. Of course, it's the Federal Capital Territory. Osun, Ekiti, Ondo, and Edo had staggered elections, I believe, because most of the governors there won at the judiciary level. Bayelsa and Kogi, I'm not quite sure what happened in those two states, but of course, gubernatorial polls wouldn't hold in Kogi, Bayelsa, I believe in Anambra. But State House of Elections are expected to kickstart in full effect at 8 a.m. tomorrow. AKT, our correspondent, is started by there, and in many of the states will be feeding you live as we got some happenings there, preparations by INEC, the accreditation process, as well as the voting proper as we open our 2015 election studio. Stay with us on Core TV News. I'm Nifemi Ogunsoye. Thanks for being there.
You can now watch Core TV News live from anywhere in the world on our website, www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to Core TV Primetime Days.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click Core TV, leave a space, then News. Core TV News, our 24-hour news station.